In the mid-1980s, television changed forever. Pastel suits, speedboats cutting across neon-lit Miami nights, and Phil Collins blasting on the soundtrack. Miami Vice wasn't just a cop show, it was a cultural earthquake. Every Friday night, millions tuned in to watch Crockett and Tubbs take on drug lords, mob bosses, and corruption. But beneath all the flash, the Ferraris, the Armani suits, the synth-driven music, the show was saying a lot more than most people realized. So let's pull back the curtain and explore 13 hidden meanings inside Miami Vice that slipped right past the audience. 1. Crockett's white suit, purity stained by vice. What if the sharpest suit on TV wasn't just a fashion statement, but a warning? Sonny Crockett's crisp white suit looked like peak 1980s style, flashy cool, effortlessly iconic, but it carried deeper meaning. In storytelling, white symbolizes purity and heroism, and Crockett seemed to embody that as Miami's drug war soldier. Yet as the series unfolded, his suit became ironic. He was tempted by the very world he fought with: money, power, and the underworld's shadows. That glowing suit turned into a contradiction, a reminder that even heroes can be stained when they walk too close to vice. Crockett's struggle was stitched into his clothes, while Tubbs's was etched into his identity as the outsider in a city of divisions. 2. Tubbs as the outsider, race and alienation. What happens when the man fighting for justice doesn't quite belong to the world he's protecting? Ricardo Tubbs, the sharp-dressed detective from New York, wasn't just Crockett's stylish partner, he was the outsider's eyes in Miami. This was a city of extremes, Latin and Anglo, rich and poor, glamorous beaches and crime-ridden alleys. Through Tubbs, Miami Vice explored alienation, racial tension, and the cost of standing apart in a corrupt system. He often seemed the most morally grounded, yet also the most displaced, a paradox of belonging everywhere and nowhere, reminding us that justice always demands sacrifice. But Tubbs wasn't the only outsider. The city itself was a character, both alluring and dangerous, shaping every story. 3. Miami, as a character, paradise and hell. In Miami Vice, the city didn't just set the stage, it stole the spotlight, the neon skyline, the rolling ocean waves, the endless nightclubs. Miami wasn't just a backdrop, it was alive. Every shot made the city pulse like it had its own heartbeat, embodying both paradise and hell at the same time. By showcasing cocaine mansions and seedy back alleys right alongside sunlit beaches, the show painted a portrait of America's contradictions. Wealth and decay, glamour and danger, dream and nightmare. Miami was temptation and punishment rolled into one, a stage where every character was forced to make choices under its hypnotic glow. If Miami spoke in neon and waves, music was its voice, and the next layer will change how you hear the show forever. 4. The music as storytelling, when pop became poetry. Long before streaming playlists and cinematic TV soundtracks, Miami Vice proved that music could tell the story. Before this show, television almost never used contemporary pop the way movies did. But Michael Mann broke tradition. Songs by Phil Collins, U2, and Glenn Frey didn't just play in the background, they became the show's hidden narrator, driving the emotion and twist. Take the now legendary In the Air Tonight sequence. Crockett speeds through the night, heading to confront a drug dealer, while Phil Collins' haunting vocals rise in the background. It's not just action, it's operatic tragedy, turning a cop show into high art. Music didn't just set the mood, it became the show's hidden narrator. Just as the soundtrack blurred the lines between tension and emotion, pause, Crockett himself would blur the lines between cop and criminal. Sonny Burnett, the blur between cop and criminal. Crockett's undercover persona, Sonny Burnett, wasn't just a clever twist, it was a mirror of his own identity. The deeper he sank into the underworld, the more the line between cop and criminal blurred, turning every mission into a personal gamble. He wasn't just playing a role, he was living it, tempted by fast money, luxury, and danger. Episodes where Crockett nearly forgets which side he's on reveal a darker truth. In fighting monsters, you risk becoming one. His double life showed the human cost of temptation, proving how fragile identity becomes in a world built on vice. As Sonny Burnett walked the line between law and lawlessness, Miami wore its own glossy mask, bright, beautiful, but hiding dangerous secrets. 6. The glossy mask, bright colors, dark secrets. At first glance, the pastel suits, flamingo pink skylines, and teal speedboats made Miami look like it had jumped straight out of a fashion magazine. But that candy-colored world was carefully constructed to deceive. Every pastel suit, flamingo pink skyline, and teal speedboat hid a darker truth beneath the surface. By pairing these striking visuals with sudden bursts of violence, Miami Vice revealed the shiny yet hollow promises of 1980s America. The city seemed prosperous, glamorous, and untouchable, but the rot underneath was everywhere, lurking in the clubs, the mansions, and the back alleys. alleys. The city's shiny exterior wasn't just a backdrop, it mirrored the moral rot of those chasing wealth and power, proving that sometimes the villains aren't strangers, but neighbors. And if you're enjoying uncovering these hidden layers, hit subscribe because the next meaning show Miami Vice was far more than just a stylish cop drama. 7. Villains of the American Dream, Crime at Home. Most TV shows of the era painted criminals as distant, exotic threats, but Miami Vice flipped the script. Instead of blaming foreign villains, the show often pointed the finger at America itself. Wall Street bankers, corrupt politicians, and suburban elites were all tied to the cocaine trade, proving that crime wasn't just happening over there, it was thriving at home. The message was clear. The true engine of the drug world wasn't Colombia, it was American greed, ambition, and moral compromise. By showing this, the series suggested that the real danger wasn't just the criminals in dark alleys, it was the shiny, prosperous world many aspired to join. As Miami revealed the rot in the American dream, Crockett and Tubbs stepped in not just partners, but two halves of a fragile balance against chaos and temptation. 8. Crockett and Tubbs' yin and yang of justice. Crockett and Tubbs weren't just a dynamic buddy cop duo, they were two halves of a whole. Crockett embodied impulsive emotional chaos, charging into situations with gut and instinct, while Tubbs represented logic, restraint, and careful calculation. Together, they formed a yin-yang balance, showing that justice required both heart and discipline. When one side tipped too far, Crockett's emotions flaring or Tubbs's caution falters their cases, and even their lives often spiraled out of control. Their partnership wasn't just about solving crimes, it was a meditation on the fragile equilibrium needed to navigate a world full of temptation, corruption, and moral grey areas. Crockett and Tubbs kept justice in balance, but even heroes had symbols of power, like Crockett's iconic Ferrari Testarossa, sleek, flashy, and full of irony. 9. Crockett's Testarossa, power, wealth, and irony. Crockett's Ferrari Testarossa wasn't just a flashy prop, it was a statement. Sleek, red, and unmistakably 1980s, the car symbolized masculine power, wealth, and the ultimate dream lifestyle. Every rev of the engine and curve of its body screamed status and success, but there was irony under the gloss. The car didn't really belong to Crockett. It was a tool of the Miami Police Department, a borrowed symbol of freedom and rebellion that underscored just how controlled, even glamorous, his world really was. The Testarossa reflected both desire and restraint, a visual reminder that in Miami Vice, nothing flashy came without strings attached. Even symbols of power like Crockett's Testarossa couldn't shield him from the city's harsh realities. In Miami Vice, justice was never clean, and every victory came with a cost. 10. No clean victories, the tragedy of justice. Unlike most cop shows, Miami Vice rarely ended with neat resolutions. Criminals slipped away, allies died, and relationships collapsed, leaving a lingering sense of tension and loss. But this wasn't sloppy writing, it was purposeful. The show argued that justice is never absolute. The drug war was a cycle, and even the most dedicated cops couldn't fully escape its cost. Every win carried consequences, every defeat left scars, and right and wrong constantly shifted. In a world where victories were never clean, Miami Vice also redefined what it meant to be a hero, not just through action, but through vulnerability. 11. Redefining masculinity. Strength meets vulnerability. The 1980s worshipped macho heroes, Rambo, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, but Miami Vice took a different approach. Instead of glorifying brute toughness, it dissected masculinity, showing what it really meant to be a man in a complex, dangerous world. Crockett was charming and confident, but beneath the swagger lay loneliness and inner conflict. Tubbs was strong, disciplined, and measured, yet he struggled with grief and personal loss. By giving its male leads real emotional depth, the show challenged the era's obsession with invincibility, revealing that true strength often comes from vulnerability. But Miami Vice didn't just challenge the image of men, it also gave voice to the women fighting in the shadows, where resilience meant survival. 12. Women of Vice, resilience in the shadows. In a world dominated by flashy cars and hard-edged men, the women of Miami Vice carried a quieter but equally powerful story. From Gina Calabrese to Trudy Joplin, they weren't just background players, they embodied survival in a hostile world. Their battles with sexism, constant danger, and the emotional fallout of undercover work made them symbols of resilience. Often, they saw the true cost of vice more clearly than the men around them, yet their value was consistently overlooked. By spotlighting their struggles, the show slipped in a subtle but sharp critique of gender inequality, and in the end, even resilience had its limits, leading to a finale that stripped away every illusion. 13. The final goodbye, when survival is the only victory. The series finale of Miami Vice didn't deliver the neat triumphs viewers expected. Instead, Crockett and Tubbs walked away from the force, disillusioned, exhausted, and hollowed out by years of chasing ghosts. That ending wasn't lazy storytelling, it was the final hidden meaning. After everything they had sacrificed, they came to see that the system itself was broken beyond repair. In a world built on corruption and vice, there were no lasting victories. The drug war didn't end, justice never fully arrived. Sometimes, the most honest conclusion isn't glory, it's survival. And that's the truth Miami Vice left behind. So, was Miami Vice just a flashy cop show, or something more? Beneath the neon, it tackled morality, identity, and America's greed, proving TV could be stylish and profound. That's why it still matters today. Cool on the surface, cutting social commentary underneath. What hidden meanings did you catch? Drop them in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more breakdowns of the shows you thought you know.